This is my presentation on how our past has shaped our identity. My thesis is that World War II has had the greatest impact on our identity today because of greatly furthering our autonomy. So this is the artifact I made, and I tried my best to make the Lego version of the 1939 Parliament building. And sadly, as you can see, the clock has fallen off and I could not find it. So the reason I chose this artifact is because this represents our change to greater autonomy. As in this building in 1939, we made our own decision whether or not we would join World War II, which I believe best represents our change in independence as a nation. Autonomy during World War I. So during World War I, we were not very autonomous as a nation. First of all, we did not choose to go to war ourselves. Being part of the British Empire meant that if Britain went to war, we had to follow, and so we did. Thus, Britain requested a contingent of 25,000 Canadian troops, which was quickly met. And Canadian soldiers trained in Britain, and Canadian equipment was discarded for British equipment because it was very unreliable, showing that we were very unprepared for the war. And also, the Canadian Corps was under the command of the British Army. First, it was under the command of Julian Byng, who was British, and then Arthur Currie, who was Canadian, did come along when Julian Byng got a promotion. But at the end of the war, the Canadian Corps was reorganized to mirror British divisions by the British Expeditionary Force, which showed that we were very dependent on Britain. Autonomy during World War II. So this is the point where we started becoming autonomous. So we chose to go to World War II ourselves. As William Lyon Mackenzie King said, Parliament will decide. This is the Parliament building from 1939, which my artifact is based off, and we chose to go to World War II ourselves. Second, we were completely independent in the battles. The liberation of Holland was largely done by us, and we had a big part in the Italian campaign and D-Day and much more. Also, the home front production of Canadian products and other materials for the Allies was much better than last time, and $10 billion of production was produced, which is the same as $100 billion in today's money. And after the war, we had an economic boom, as the government was centralized during the war, and it stayed so after. Autonomy after the war and now. Now we are a fully autonomous nation. We strengthened our foreign relations with the United States. We were one of the founding nations of UN and NATO, which makes us give out a lot of foreign aid to countries in need. And this all equates to us being seen as a middle power in the world. One of the examples of us being a middle power was the Suez Crisis, where we acted as a mediator between Israel, France, the US, and Britain, as a middle power should, and which makes us very autonomous. So in conclusion, World War II has had the greatest impact on our identity today. This is my works cited page.